My dear child. The day they found that hidden note was supposed to be an ordinary day. No one expected a single folded piece of paper buried deep inside an old drawer to shake an entire family, expose years of secrets, and reveal a truth so shocking that nobody in the room could speak for several minutes afterward. Someone had tried very hard to make sure that note was never discovered. Someone had hidden it where no one would think to look. Someone had carried its secret for years. And when the words written on that page finally came to light, every single person realized they had been wrong about everything. Listen carefully, because this story is not just about a hidden note. It is about a love that refused to die, a promise that survived silence, and a truth that was waiting for the perfect moment to be revealed. For years, your soulmate had lived under the watchful eyes of family members who believed they understood every part of their life. They believed they knew what your soulmate wanted, who they cared about, and why certain decisions had been made. They assumed they understood the reasons behind every smile, every silence, and every sacrifice. But assumptions are dangerous things. Sometimes the truth hides quietly beneath years of misunderstandings, waiting for one unexpected moment to rise to the surface. The family gathering had started like any other. Conversations filled the house. Relatives moved from room to room. Laughter echoed through the hallways. Stories from the past were shared across the dining table. Everything appeared normal on the surface. Yet beneath that normality, something was already beginning to shift. Your soulmate's younger cousin had been helping organize old furniture in one of the upstairs rooms. The room contained belongings that had not been touched in years. Dust covered the shelves. Old photographs sat inside boxes. Forgotten memories waited quietly in corners where no one paid attention anymore. At first, the task seemed boring. The cousin opened cabinets, sorted papers, and moved items from one place to another. Then they reached a wooden dresser standing against the far wall. One of the drawers appeared stuck. Curious, they pulled harder. The drawer finally opened. Inside were old notebooks, receipts, and faded letters. Nothing unusual. At least, not at first. Don't skip. As they removed the contents one by one, something caught their attention. Beneath a stack of papers was a folded sheet tucked into the back corner. It looked different from everything else. The paper was worn from age. The edges were slightly yellowed. It had clearly been handled many times before being hidden away. The cousin almost ignored it. Almost. Something about it felt important. They unfolded it. The first line immediately made their heart race. Because written in careful handwriting were words that nobody expected to see. The note began with your name. Not just your name. A confession. A confession so personal and emotional that the cousin stood frozen, staring at the page as if the words might disappear. For several moments they simply read in silence. Then they read it again. And again. Each sentence revealed something even more shocking than the last. The cousin knew immediately that this was not an ordinary letter. This was something your soulmate had never intended anyone else to find. Downstairs, the family continued laughing and talking, completely unaware that a secret was about to change everything. The cousin hurried downstairs holding the folded paper in trembling hands. At first, they weren't sure what to do. Should they return it? Should they pretend they never found it? Should they tell someone? But curiosity won. They approached your soulmate's older brother first. The brother noticed their nervous expression immediately. "What happened?" he asked. Without speaking, the cousin handed him the note. The brother glanced at it casually. Then his expression changed, his eyes widened. His face lost color. And suddenly he wasn't smiling anymore. Because he recognized the handwriting instantly. It belonged to your soulmate. The room seemed to disappear around him as he continued reading. Every sentence challenged everything he thought he knew. Every paragraph revealed emotions that had been hidden for years. And every word pointed toward one undeniable truth. You had never stopped being the most important person in your soulmate's life. Not for a month. Not for a year. Not ever. The brother sat down slowly. The cousin watched in confusion. "What does it say?" they asked. But the brother couldn't answer immediately. Because the note was unlike anything he expected. For years, family members had assumed your soulmate moved on. They assumed life had continued. They assumed old feelings belonged in the past. But this note told a completely different story. A story no one had seen. A story hidden beneath years of silence. A story centered entirely around you. Don't skip. The brother continued reading. One sentence struck him harder than all the others. It said, "If they ever find this note, I hope they finally understand the truth. Every important decision I made was influenced by the memory of one person. No matter where life carried me, no matter how much time passed, my heart always returned to them." The brother lowered the paper. His hands were shaking. Because he suddenly remembered years of moments that never made sense before. Times when your soulmate became quiet after hearing your name. Times when they avoided certain conversations. Times when they stared into the distance as if remembering something painful. At the time, everyone ignored those moments. Now those moments suddenly carried new meaning. The brother read further. The note described memories. Specific memories, specific memories. Moments shared with you that your soulmate had apparently carried for years. Every detail was preserved with astonishing clarity. The way you laughed. The way you encouraged them during difficult times. The way you believed in them when nobody else did. The way your presence changed their life forever. Reading those words felt almost intrusive. As though he were witnessing thoughts never meant to be seen. Yet he couldn't stop reading. Neither could the cousin. Neither could anyone else who eventually gathered around. One by one, family members became aware that something unusual was happening. Conversations stopped. Laughter faded. Attention shifted toward the note. Soon a small circle formed around the table. And one by one, they heard its contents. The room grew quieter with each sentence. Because nobody expected the depth of emotion contained within those pages. Nobody expected your soulmate to have hidden such powerful feelings for so long. Nobody expected the note to reveal that behind every major life choice, behind every sacrifice, behind every painful decision, there had always been one person occupying a permanent place in their heart. You. And the most shocking revelation had not even appeared yet. Because halfway through the note, the handwriting became more emotional, more vulnerable, more honest. It was there that your soulmate wrote something that stunned everyone who read it. Something capable of changing how the entire family viewed the past. Something so powerful that several relatives later admitted they could not stop thinking about it for days afterward. The sentence read, "The greatest mistake people make is believing I chose a different future. The truth is that every future I imagined still included them." And suddenly the room fell completely silent. The silence that followed those words felt heavier than anyone could explain. For several moments, nobody in the room moved. Nobody laughed. Nobody even seemed willing to breathe too loudly. The note rested on the table between them like a forgotten treasure that had suddenly become the most important object in the house. Every family member stared at it as if it might reveal even more secrets if they looked long enough. Your soulmate's brother slowly turned the page. He wasn't prepared for what came next. Neither was anyone else. Because the note no longer spoke only about memories. It spoke about sacrifices. Hidden sacrifices. Painful sacrifices. Sacrifices that nobody had ever known existed. The handwriting became slightly uneven, as though the words had been written during an emotional moment. I wonder if they will ever know what really happened. I wonder if they will ever discover why certain choices were made. Everyone believes life simply moved forward. Everyone believes I stopped fighting. But the truth is that some battles are fought silently, and some promises are kept in ways nobody can see. The brother swallowed hard. He continued reading. Years earlier, according to the note, there had been a moment when your soulmate had been given a choice. A choice that could have changed everything. A choice that could have completely altered both of your futures. Yet nobody had ever heard about it. Not even the closest relatives. The note described a private conversation that had taken place long ago. A conversation your soulmate never revealed. A conversation involving someone within the family. Someone who had believed they were protecting everyone. Someone who thought they were doing the right thing. But their actions had created consequences that lasted for years. Don't skip. The family exchanged nervous glances. The note continued. I remember sitting there while they explained why I should let go. They told me it would be easier. They told me life would become simpler. They told me some people are meant to remain memories. But every word felt wrong. Every part of me wanted to fight. Every part of me wanted to refuse. The room became even quieter. Because nobody knew who they referred to. The mystery deepened with every sentence. The brother turned another page. Then his eyes widened. Because the note finally revealed the identity. It was a relative. A respected family member. Someone everyone trusted. Years ago, that person had privately encouraged your soulmate to stop pursuing the future they truly wanted. Not because they hated you. Not because they wished anyone harm. But because they believed circumstances made the relationship impossible. The revelation hit the family like lightning. Several relatives immediately looked toward one another. Old memories resurfaced. Old conversations suddenly made sense. Pieces of a puzzle that had remained scattered for years began fitting together, yet the note did not blame anyone. That was what shocked everyone most. There was no anger. No bitterness. No accusations. Instead, there was compassion. I don't hate them for what they said. They believed they were helping. They believed they were protecting me from disappointment. But what they never understood was that some people become part of your soul. Distance doesn't remove them. Time doesn't erase them. Silence doesn't replace them. A tear rolled down the face of one family member. Then another. Because the words carried a sincerity that could not be faked. The note was not written for attention. It was not written for sympathy. It was written for nobody. Which made every sentence feel even more real. Don't skip. The brother kept reading. And then came another revelation. One that stunned the family even more. Your soulmate admitted that there had been countless opportunities to move on completely. Countless opportunities. New people. New possibilities. New beginnings, yet every time life offered a different path, something unexpected happened. The comparison always led back to you. The note explained it with heartbreaking honesty. I tried to convince myself that enough time had passed. I tried to believe everyone who said the future required forgetting the past. But every meaningful connection reminded me of them. Every conversation reminded me of them. Every moment that should have felt complete somehow felt unfinished. Several relatives lowered their eyes. Because they suddenly remembered situations where your soulmate seemed distant during important moments. Situations they had misunderstood. Situations they had judged unfairly. Now they understood, now everything looked different. The note continued. And then came a section written in darker ink. A section that appeared to have been added later. Perhaps years later. The handwriting looked more mature. More reflective. More certain. If anyone is reading this, then fate has chosen a strange path. Maybe this note was never meant to remain hidden forever. Maybe some truths eventually find their way into the light. If that happens, I only want one thing to be understood. The family leaned closer. The next sentence nearly took everyone's breath away. The greatest love of my life was never a secret to my heart. It only became a secret to everyone else. Nobody spoke. Nobody knew what to say. The confession felt impossible to ignore. Years of assumptions collapsed in an instant. Years of misunderstandings disappeared, and suddenly the image everyone carried of your soulmate was transformed completely. The cousin who found the note looked overwhelmed. "That I can't believe this," they whispered. Neither could anyone else. But the biggest shock was still waiting. Because near the bottom of the page was a folded attachment. A second note. Smaller. Older. Hidden inside the first one. The brother carefully removed it. The paper looked far more fragile. Its edges were worn. The fold marks suggested it had been opened many times. Whatever was written inside clearly mattered. The room held its breath. Slowly, he unfolded it. The handwriting was younger. Rawer. More emotional. The first sentence immediately froze everyone in place. I made a promise today. A chill spread through the room. The brother continued reading. And with every line, the mystery deepened. The promise had been made after a moment involving you. A moment so significant that your soulmate had documented it in secret. According to the note, it was the day they realized their feelings would never truly disappear. The day they understood that life could move forward while the heart remained loyal to a memory. The day everything changed. Don't skip. The smaller note described standing alone beneath the night sky after a conversation with you. Your soulmate wrote about replaying every word, every smile, every detail. Then came the promise. A promise nobody had ever heard before. A promise your soulmate apparently carried through every year that followed. I promised myself that no matter what happened, would never allow the world to rewrite the truth. People may tell different versions of the story. Time may blur details. Circumstances may separate paths. But I will never pretend they didn't change my life forever. Several family members wiped away tears. Because the sincerity of those words was undeniable. This wasn't obsession. This wasn't fantasy. This was gratitude, love, respect, and something even deeper. A bond that had survived despite distance, silence, and years of uncertainty. The brother stared at the final paragraphs. Then he noticed something strange. At the very bottom of the second note was a date. A specific date. One that made his heart nearly stop. Because he recognized it immediately. That date matched a major event from years ago. An event when everyone believed your soulmate had finally moved on. Yet according to the note, that assumption had been completely wrong. In reality, on the very same day everyone celebrated a new chapter, your soulmate had secretly written about you. The realization left the entire family speechless. Everything they thought they knew was unraveling. Everything. And then the brother turned the note over. What he found on the back caused him to stand up so suddenly that his chair nearly fell backward. Because there, written in a single line, was one final message. A message nobody expected. A message directed toward the future. A message written as though your soulmate somehow knew this note would one day be discovered. And the moment everyone read that final sentence, a shocking question entered every mind in the room.